Preston in Lancashire. It's an especially sad story because the victim was a 9-year-old boy, Imraan Vohra. We start in Davyhulme in Preston on Thursday the 11th of July. At Frenchwood Junior School, it's the last lesson of the day.
It's not just cut in half the E shape, but we get a mirror image. If we put a mirror there, as we've tried before, we get the full E. So what I want you to do with your worksheets is take the first worksheet with the capital letter shapes on. And
Imraan was a cheerful boy. His teachers found him reliable, and he was popular with classmates, though reserved and rather quiet.
that you can find in those capital letters.
He loved sports. Just the previous afternoon, he'd won several prizes at the school's sports day.
Is that the only line symmetry? Is it? You've checked it. Okay, so there's the bell. We need to pack away quickly today, so can you just slip everything into your drawer, please? Take care going home, and we'll see you tomorrow.
School finished at 3:15, but this Thursday, Imraan and some of his friends stayed in the playground to play marbles for a while. The game over, Imraan would normally walk home with his friends.
Are you not coming home today? Nah, I'm waiting for here for someone. I'll see you tomorrow.
He didn't say who he was waiting for. From this point on, precisely what happened is unclear. When one of Imraan's classmates left the school, Imraan was still standing at the gate. She thinks she saw a young Asian man across the road.
Imraan!
And she says he called out to Imraan. She's fairly sure he crossed over to the man and that they walked off together. Less certain is a sighting just after 4 o'clock in Davyhulme Lane. A witness saw a small boy crying. He thinks the boy was wearing a beige and brown anorak with a red stripe, similar to Imraan's. The boy disappeared down Shepherd Street. Another possibility, about 4:15, a motorist saw a boy a little further down Davyhulme Lane. He was in the company of a scruffy-looking man, maybe in his 40s. They were heading in the direction of Davyhulme Park. It's a popular area with open spaces and woodland used by many people as a shortcut. At about 4:30, this woman clearly recalls seeing a small boy in a beige and brown anorak. The boy was on his own, and when she glanced back, he was gone. Any of these sightings could have been of Imraan, for he often came to Davyhulme Park to play. He had a series of dens all over the park, and he'd spend many afternoons here, sometimes with friends, often alone. What's known for certain is that on Thursday afternoon, Imraan failed to turn up for lessons at the local mosque. He was due there with all the other Muslim children in the area at 5 o'clock. By 9 o'clock, when he still hadn't come home, his parents were so worried that they decided to call in the police. Neighbours were alerted, and on Friday morning, the police launched a major inquiry. They appealed for information in English and in Urdu.
9 साला इमरान वोहरा कल दोपहर कोई 3:30 बजे आखिरी बार डेवनहम पार्क के नजदीक फ्रेंचवुड जूनियर स्कूल के बाहर देखा गया था. इसके बाद आपने अगर उसे देखा हो या इसके बारे में कोई खबर मिली हो तो मेहरबानी करके मुकामी पुलिस से राब्ता कायम करें. इमरान भूरे.
They began a thorough search of the whole district. It went on late into Friday night and was resumed at 5 a.m., first light on Saturday. Many of the family's friends and neighbours joined in to help. 40 minutes later, at a place known locally as the tipping area, here near the old tram bridge, they found Imraan.
Come here, quick! Come over here!
He was lying in one of his dens. He'd been sexually assaulted and strangled. Superintendent John Boyd, this is a ghastly crime.
Yes, it is. It's a horrible sexual crime. Imraan was a victim of a horrible sexual assault. He probably, when the assault was being committed, he probably had a ligature around his neck this ligature subsequently strangled him.
Now, there must have been people who saw Imraan that day and who saw whoever was the killer, though they may not have realised anything significant in what they saw. Let's just remind ourselves, we've got a map which shows where the body was found, and there it is by the old tram bridge
in
Avenham Park.
Yes.
Now, the school is where in relation?
The school is on the right.
Frenchwood Junior School.
About 400 or 500 yards away.
Okay. Now, it was there at Frenchwood School, of course, that one of Imraan's friends saw him with an older man. She's pretty sure of that, isn't she?
Yes, she is a schoolmate of Imraan's, and she knew Imraan. She saw Imraan standing at the school gate, and she saw a man across the road who was described as being about 5'10" or 6 foot, in his late 20s, slim, black hair. She just said he was an Asian man, and she knows the Asian community.
Now, obviously, we badly need to find anyone who knew Imraan in relation to an older man.
Yes, that's correct. If it is true that this man picked Imraan up from school, then Imraan must have known him beforehand, and we would like to know of the association.
Now, what about people in the park? There must have been lots of people, potential witnesses there.
There's a lot of people in the park who originally were unidentified. A number of them now have been identified. We urgently need these people to come forward. They might think they can't help us, but we need to eliminate them because we have their descriptions, and probably we have the description of the killer.
Now, I gather that the park is sometimes used by gays, by homosexuals. They may be reluctant to call in.
Yes, a number of them frequent the public conveniences in the park. It's their focal point. We have interviewed a large number of them, but in fairness to them, they are cooperating and they are giving us information.
There was a boy seen running from the park. I know that you really want to trace him badly, to eliminate him.
About 4:15, a boy was seen running along South Meadow Lane away from the park. He's about 15, fairish ginger hair, a cream-coloured shirt and a grey sweater and green slacks. The thing about him was that he looked frightened, and he was running faster than he would normally do on a jogging run.
And I know that a week before the murder, a man was seen with a younger Asian boy.
On the Thursday before the murder, about 400 yards away from the murder scene, a man who is described as being 35 to 40 years was seen in Miller Park, which adjoins Avenham Park, at 4:30. He was seen in some bushes with a 10-year-old boy who was an Asian boy. There is no evidence that this was Imraan, and it probably wasn't Imraan.
Okay, so you need to find him and indeed anyone else to eliminate themselves, but also just in case they saw something which will fit in with something else
we
that you know.
We need these people to come forward to assist the inquiries.
All right, and kids, of course, if you can help in any way, I don't know, if you were smoking in the park or doing something you don't want to tell your parents, please do. It's so important. If you think you can help with any leads at all, please tell your parents, please call us. It's in confidence. And here's the number, 01811 8055. The incident room is at Preston on 54811. That's 0772 54811.
A 72-year-old woman was found dead in her home in Salford. At first it seemed she'd died of natural causes, but then it became clear that she'd been asphyxiated. How or why is still a mystery. Georgina Davies was known as Jean to her friends and neighbours, and it's with their help that we've been able to build up a picture of her life and the events which led up to her death. Our reconstruction takes place in Higher Broughton in Salford. Jean lived in one of the newer houses in Mildred Street. Her husband died 14 years ago, and since she had no other family, she lived alone.
Morning, Jean.
Oh, hello, Nona.
It's a nice day, isn't it?
Yes, it is. If it keeps up, I'm thinking of taking the dogs over to Ainsdale Beach and giving them a bit of a run.
Oh, good. Do you think they'll sleep tonight, then?
Jean was a very house-proud lady, always keeping the house clean and tidy and spick and span outside and in. She was a very nice person to speak to. She was a totally professional nurse. If you can understand me, she was a lady who had been nursing all her life, and that's what she lived for, actually.
Jean retired 18 months ago as matron of Broughton House, a home for disabled servicemen, but she still did part-time private nursing. Her social life centred on the Griffin, her local pub. A few of her friends met there regularly on Tuesday evenings. If she wasn't working, she often joined them. Jean had one other regular evening appointment, which is still unexplained. The local butcher opposite the Griffin describes what he saw every week.
About 6 to 6:30, usually near to 6:30. Jean always used to come and stand on this corner, one night a week. And the black escort, which used to come from the direction of Littleton Road, used to pick her up. If the lights were on red, it picked her up on the Cromwell roadside. If they're on green, she crossed over and it picked her up outside the telephone box. And it always drove off in the direction of Great Clear Street.
Apart from nursing, Jean's other great love was animals. She had 2 dogs of her own which she adored, and she took them for walks once or twice every day. On Tuesday, the 20th of May, Jean took the dogs as usual to the old Salford racecourse in the afternoon. It was the last day any of Jean's friends or neighbours saw her alive. Their statements provide us with a patchy account of that day.
I went to the post office that day, caught the number 13 bus back, and then I crossed over the road and saw Jean with her 2 dogs.
Hiya, Jean. Oh, hello, dear. How are you? I'm fine, thanks. How are your parents getting on?
Oh, they're all right. She seemed normal within herself, quite happy.
One's exhausted.
We both walked together up until I reached our house, and I presume Jean then went to her house.
I'll tell my mum who was asking about it. Do. Bye.
Well, it'd be about 5:45 to 6 o'clock. It had been raining and it was a pretty sort of murky evening, really. I was aware of a car passing, didn't realise at the time that it was Jean's Metro. But when I looked back, I saw this car had parked on the opposite side of the road, and I saw Jean coming across the street. She looked a bit angry, actually, so I thought, well, you know, it's not a kind of time to have a chat to her, really. And then I came into my drive and she sort of disappeared to go into hers.
That particular Tuesday night, I'd been on the racecourse walking the dog. On my way off, decided I'd call at Jean's and invited out for a drink. It was near enough 9 o'clock time, give or take a bit either way. And when I got into Mildred Street, I walked up to the house, knocked on the door, rang the bell and banged on the window. It generally made quite a noise, like, so she'd know it was me. And waited a few minutes and got no answer. So I just presumed that she was at work and went home and got changed and fed the dog. And I went across to the Griffin about 10 o'clock time.
Evening, Howell. You up?
Usual.
Although it was Tuesday, Jean didn't join the others that night. Then at midnight, a neighbour driving down Mildred Street noticed something slightly unusual. There was a light on in Jean's spare bedroom window. The next afternoon, when Jean was late for work, her employer rang her and then drove to her home. When she found the broken window, she called the police.
Drop to Sergeant Nicholson. Yes, can you rendezvous with 7160 at 1 Charlie, Mildred Street, Salford 7, please, to have a suspicious death.
Jean's body had been found upstairs in her bedroom. She died from some kind of pressure to her neck.
Hello, Dennis. What's the position up here now?
Well, it's pretty tidy up there, but the lads are working on it now.
Yeah, thanks very much.
There were no obvious signs of violence nor any struggle, but gradually more details emerged which suggest Georgina Davies was murdered. Well, Mr. Patterson, what makes you believe now that she was murdered?
Well, although initially there were very few signs of disturbance in the house, we now know that certain property, including a set of house keys with a Yale and a mortise key on them, are missing, together with a handbag like this, which Mrs. Davies owned, and a blue cagoule with a white stripe down the side.
And she'd been seen wearing that very day, hadn't she?
This
so
is
that
what
is
she was.
suspicious.
Yes, this is what she was wearing that day. I am particularly interested in finding this item of clothing. Also missing from the house is a pair of green Wellington boots similar to these.
So if anybody's seen any of those items of clothing or some keys, please to let you know.
Yes, that would be of extreme importance to me.
Now, Jean wasn't a great socialiser, was she? She was quite a private person, didn't talk about her private life, which has given you quite a lot of problems. What do you most need to know about her life?
Well, one thing has come to light. She is known to have met someone once a week who owns a black A-registered Ford Escort vehicle.
This is the car the butcher saw?
This is the car that pulled up at the traffic lights near the butcher's shop, yes.
The butcher isn't sure exactly which night of the week it was?
No, it could be either Tuesday, Thursday or Friday, our information at the moment. We have no idea who owns this vehicle at all, and it is important that we find that person.
And you don't think it was a patient she was going to see?
It's unlikely, because normally she was very well dressed when she went out on that particular evening.
Right. Now, for a few weeks before she died, she hadn't been making those regular visits on Tuesdays to the Griffin pub, had she? Where do you think she might have been instead?
Well, it's possible that the black escort could be connected with this, or we have also heard that she had other jobs that we haven't found out about yet. Anyone who has employed Mrs. Davies over recent months, I would very much like to talk to.
Right, so you need any patients of Jean's in the recent weeks, the driver of that escort, black escort we saw, and anyone else in particular that you'd like to trace?
Yes. Outside the house at 7 a.m. on the Wednesday morning were two men wearing blue boiler suits. These men had a van parked nearby, and they were seen to be looking at the house. We have never traced those men.
And finally, what's vital is you need to know somebody who perhaps saw her between 4:15 and 6 o'clock on that Tuesday, the 20th of May.
Yes, at 4:15 p.m. she came back from walking her dogs. She was then seen coming back in her car at 6 p.m. I do not know where she was in between, and I would like to find out.
Perhaps somebody can solve the mystery. Thank you very much indeed. This is the number to ring, 01811 8055, 01811 8055. If you can't get through here, or you'd rather phone locally, police are waiting for your call at the Crescent Police Station in Salford. That's 061 855 5151, 061 855 5151. Now, anyone who was in Blackpool on the weekend the illuminations were switched off at the end of the summer season may be able to help police working on our next case. It was, like our first case, Guy Fawkes weekend. That Saturday, the 5th of November, was the last day anyone saw 74-year-old Harry Howell alive. 2 weeks later, his body was found in the living room of his flat. He'd been robbed and killed. Harry's wife, Elsie, died just 4 weeks earlier, and since then he seems to have been a rather lonely figure, living by himself in sheltered accommodation for elderly people in Blackpool. Our reconstruction, which includes actors as well as actual witnesses, begins back in October at Elsie's funeral, where a nephew was particularly concerned about him.
Have you thought about what you're going to do now?
Oh, I'll manage. I've got a fair bit put away, you know.
No, I don't mean. I mean, how are you going to cope?
Oh, I'll manage somehow.
Well, what about your meals?
Well, we'll think of something.
Shortly after Elsie's funeral, Harry's nephew took him to the Leigh Cafe in Central Drive, very near Harry's home.
Hello, love. This is Harry. He just lives round back here. He's had a bereavement, you know, his wife's died. So he'll be coming in here every day now for his meals, and I'd like you to look after him. Make sure he has a substantial meal, at least one a day. No sandwiches or nothing like that.
No. Harry had suffered a stroke which partly paralysed him, and he was blind in one eye. But he was an independent type, and he enjoyed placing a bet and having a pint. He used to carry a large amount of money in his wallet, and he made a point of telling people he was well off. Recently, he'd been going to the George pub around the corner from his home. Police would like to know of anyone seen talking to him there. Harry lived in sheltered accommodation in Ibbison Court, where every morning the warden visits the elderly residents. It's Saturday, the 5th of November.
I see you've got your flat nice and tidy now, Harry. I see you've got your flat nice and tidy now,
Oh,
Harry.
yes, fine.
Yes. Have you got rid of all Elsie's things?
Social worker came round and took them away for somebody more needy like.
Yes, yes. OK, love.
Right.
All right, then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
The warden left Harry at 9:30 that morning. An hour later, he was having his breakfast at the Leigh Cafe as usual. The waitress remembers serving a well-dressed man she hadn't seen before.
20 pence, is it?
Yes, thank you very much.
And you just listening there to Mike Lancaster, our reporter, who's over there at the moment at the British Gas showroom in Blackpool, cooking for bonfire night tonight.
The two men talked together for a while.
Yeah, sure. If I knew he was with you, I would have brought the tea down myself.
Oh, never mind, love. Take your tea out of that, will you?
It's already paid.
Aye.
Police would like this man to come forward.
Okay, don't worry.
Hello, love. I'm coming for a couple of meat sandwiches for an old man that comes in here regular every day. Perhaps you know him?
This is Burton's Bakery on Central Drive, where Harry usually bought a pie at lunchtime.
That's all we've got left.
Oh, I won't want the salad. He definitely said meat. In that case, I better take the beef horseradish, please.
Horseradish. Would you like one or two?
Two, please. Yeah.
2 weeks later, 2 beef and horseradish sandwiches were found unopened in Harry's flat, still in the paper bag.
Thanks very much.
These were the only beef sandwiches the bakery sold on the 5th of November. From the description the shop assistant has been able to give, police have produced this video fit of the man. It's obviously vital to their inquiries that he comes forward.
I've lost my wife recently.
Harry enjoyed chatting to people. On that Saturday afternoon at about 4 o'clock, he kept these complete strangers talking for nearly 20 minutes.
I've no worries on that score. I've plenty of money stashed away, you know.
Have you?
Oh, I'll be all right.
Oh,
Oh, that's not fair, is it?
Oh, no.
I'd like a dog, but I can't have one where I live, you know.
You can't?
No, that'd keep the yobbos away, wouldn't it?
Right, yeah.
Harry didn't mix much with the other residents in Ibbotson Court, and no one knows whether he spent Guy Fawkes night alone or not. On Sunday morning, the milkman delivered Harry's usual pint. The warden uses an internal intercom to check residents on Sundays, and that morning she remembers Harry answered and said he was fine. Next day, on Monday, the warden on her usual rounds noticed a piece of white card stuck to Harry's door. It was the system residents used to signify they'd gone out for a while. On Tuesday, the 8th of November, at around 7:30, the milkman called again. The white card was still in the door glass. About an hour later, the home help sent by the social services arrived. She was the first to see a note, something like this, addressed to the milkman. But the milkman hadn't seen it. Half an hour after that, the deputy warden passed by on the regular round. She too remembers seeing a note. The window cleaner who came round that afternoon didn't see a note. So what had happened to it? As he worked, the window cleaner saw a man go up to Harry's door. He didn't get a reply, and after a while walked off. On Thursday, 4 days after the warden had last heard Harry's voice, the milkman called again. Seeing Tuesday's bottle still there, he assumed Harry had gone away without telling him and took it away. It wasn't until 12 days later that it was realised something was wrong. On Tuesday, the 22nd of November, the window cleaner came round again. He was the first person to notice that Harry's door had been damaged, although it was still firmly locked. Concerned, the window cleaner went to the back to investigate. He saw Harry's body lying in an armchair in the lounge. Harry died of terrible head wounds. Mr. Hacking, it's extraordinary that nobody saw the damage to the door for nearly 2 weeks.
That's right, yes. Mr. Johnson, the window cleaner, was the first person to see it, but there's quite a bit of damage. It looks very much like there's been a burglary, but of course the damage could have been caused afterwards in order to cover up a burglary.
If it is burglary, there was certainly quite a lot stolen. For a start, there was a quite distinctive watch, wasn't there?
That's right, yes. He had this watch, Mr. Howell. It belonged actually to his lifelong companion, Elsie Flegg. And on the watch, he's printed the words presented to Harry Flegg on his retirement, a word to that effect. It's a gold watch with a gold rim, and is quite valuable.
And the keys were stolen, weren't they?
In addition, there were keys to the home were stolen as well, about 12 keys on a bunch.
Right, and the brown wallet?
That's right.
Something similar to the one you had there?
A wallet similar to this was also stolen. It's just an ordinary brown fold-over type wallet. And we know that in that wallet, Mr. Howell has in the past kept several £100s.
Right. What about this note? It's a complete mystery. It was pinned to the door, probably for only half an hour. Who wrote it? Who put it there, and why?
That's right, yes. It was seen there on Tuesday, the 8th of November. It was either put there by Mr. Howell or by his killer. Now, the indications are that Mr. Howell didn't put it there. There was no indication that he was going away anywhere. He hasn't put notes of that sort there before. So, in all probability, it was the person who was connected with Mr. Howell's death who put that note there.
Right. Now, we're looking in particular for two men. The man, first of all, who went into Burton's bakery that Saturday for some beef and horseradish sandwiches for an old man, as he said. Could we have his description?
That's right, yes. The man who went into Burton's bakery, he was quite a tall man. He was slim, with a pale, drawn face, and with dark hair that fell over his face, over his forehead.
And the second man was the man seen on the morning of that same day talking to Harry in the cafe as he ate his breakfast.
That's right, yes. This man seen in the cafe with Mr. Howell, he again was quite tall. He was described as broadish built, but he was wearing a fawn-coloured overcoat with a trilby hat, with a soft trilby hat.
Right, there's always a possibility that's the same man. I hope
There
we
is
get
that.
lots of calls, Mr. Hacking. Thank you very much. If you can help Detective Superintendent Hacking with any information on this case, please do call. Perhaps you saw Harry or chatted to him at the Leagate Cafe or at the George Pub. The number here is 01811 8055, or the direct line to the incident room in Blackpool is 0253 293933. That's 0253 293933. Now, the first of our main cases tonight is the reconstruction of the last evening 18-year-old Michelle Wareing was seen alive. On a warm September evening, Michelle disappeared after spending a Saturday night out with friends in Wigan. Our film begins at around noon the following day, Sunday, September the 10th, at Station Road car park just outside Wigan town centre.
Oh, you're not going down there to that old handbag, are you?
Oh, come on, there might be money in it. Oh, yeah, you're right.
What's the purse, Dad? Finding handbag.
Hang on, let's have a look at it. And we'll take it to the police. There's some shoes there as well. They might have something to do with this handbag.
OK then, Mrs. Wareing, just to recap, it's your daughter Michelle Wareing, 18 years. She's been missing since Saturday night, Sunday morning. Yes, that's right. OK, I'll get an officer round straight away. Bye-bye. This could have found property, please. Thank you.
Some of my son found the bag. About 2 yards further on is where I found a pair of shoes.
So let's just split up and have a look round.
OK then, I'll go on this side and look round this way a bit. OK.
Michelle had been missing for nearly 2 days.
Over here.
Her body was found in the bushes beside the car park in Station Road. Michelle lived at home with her parents and younger brother near the centre of Wigan. She worked as a waitress at a local cafe, and everyone who knew her describes a cheerful, popular teenager. On the evening of Saturday, September the 9th, Michelle and two of her friends had planned a night out.
Michelle?
She'd arranged to meet Sharon Pryke and Alison Humphreys in the town centre at 7:30.
Okay. I put it back first, okay. Okay. We'll talk about please.
three of them visited several popular pubs and bars in the centre of Wigan before finally arriving at Scott's Disco at about 9:45.
Take us to Kit Green, please. OK.
As they drove away, Alison saw her friend walking up King Street towards Walgate. Where Michelle went next and exactly what happened to her, police can at present only speculate. Did she take a taxi on Walgate? Did she accept a lift from somebody? Police need to hear from you if you saw her getting into a taxi or a car. Or perhaps she met up with somebody she knew who may have offered to walk with her the 1.5 miles home. One witness reports seeing a girl like Michelle standing next to McDonald's 400 yards from Scott's. She was with a man described as 6 foot tall, slim, with short blonde hair and wearing jeans and a light patterned jumper. Minutes after that, 2 separate witnesses saw a couple arguing outside the multi-storey car park at Station Road. One witness particularly remembers the girl's white shoulder bag. Several other people report hearing screams and shouts coming from the car park. The multi-storey itself was nearly empty by now. Was yours one of the few cars still parked there? And if so, did you hear or see anything unusual? At about 2:30 that morning, David Bradshaw was walking home down Station Road when he saw a young man near the exit of the car park. As David continued on his way, another young man, tall with short blonde hair, ran out in front of him from the entrance of the car park and up towards the town centre. And this was just 50 yards from where the following Monday evening Michelle's body was found. Detective Superintendent John Smith is leading this investigation. What was the motive?
I believe this to be a very violent, sexually motivated attack.
Could there have been an incident at Scott's Disco, you think, leading up to her leaving before her friends and maybe leading on to this incident?
Inquiries have not revealed any incident in Scott's. I believe that Michelle Wareing was very tired, and that is the reason she went home.
If Michelle had decided, against her friend's advice, to walk home, what route would she have taken?
She would probably retrace the steps she took in coming into Wigan that night. That's by walking back through the town centre towards her home in Welly.
So, in fact, that car park would have been out of her way if she was walking home?
That is correct, it would be, yes. It's about 800 yards away from the disco.
How far was that car park from Scott's?
About 10 minutes walk at the most, probably 8 minutes average.
You can see there where Michelle was found.
That is the star, yes.
The entrance and the exit to the car park.
That is correct, yes.
That exit, a man was seen leaning over the railings, and you're particularly anxious to find him.
Yes, I certainly am. I would very much like to eliminate this man from the inquiry and urge him to come forward. He's a young man, late teens, light coloured clothing, and he may well have been in that area of the car park for some length of time, maybe hours, prior to this particular sighting. And if anybody knows this man's identity, please contact the incident room immediately.
And someone else was seen near the exit, the entrance to the car park?
That is correct. A man with blonde hair, about 6 foot, blue jeans, dark pullover, ran from that direction towards the town centre.
And another sighting too around that time?
Yes, that is correct. There was a couple walking along at Riverway with a dog when a man brushed past them, again a man with blonde hair. And again I would urge these people, if they recognise themselves, to contact us on the incident room at Wigan Police Station.
Now those couples who were seen arguing, are you sure that they were Michelle or not?
No, in fact we're not. Neither of the young ladies has been positively identified as Michelle, although both were wearing dark coloured clothing. The sighting at McDonald's, we know that the blouse that the young lady was wearing there was very, very similar indeed to Michelle's. But again, I would appeal to these people, if they do recognise themselves as being outside McDonald's or outside the car park arguing, please contact us.
Could save a lot of vital police work there.
It certainly would do.
Incidentally, to help you remember, Wigan were playing at home football against Northampton that night. That might help to jog your memory. Finally, briefly, there's a red car at the car park too, which might be significant.
Yes, the Ford Orion was seen parked on Riverway by the multi-storey. The index number of the vehicle began with an E and ended with an E. It was quite a new car.
Right, Mr Smith, for the moment, thank you. And of course, most importantly, if you think you may have seen Michelle herself in the small hours of that Saturday night after she left Scott's, remember it was Saturday night, September the 9th, Sunday the 10th. Please do call us. Even the slightest piece of information could make all the difference in helping police work out exactly what did happen to Michelle that night. The number direct to the studio here is 01 811 8055, or you can contact Detective Superintendent Smith's colleagues at the incident room in Wigan on 061 855 7039. That's 061, the code for Manchester, 855 7039.
Tonight's final reconstruction is about the murder of a prostitute, an extrovert, cheerful 27-year-old who worked the streets in Manchester. Ironically, 3 or 4 weeks before she met her death, Maria Requena, or Christine as she was known, appeared on a television documentary where she talked about the dangers of her job.
It's a game that you can't really you can't trust nobody. And that there's young girls out here at the age of 16, 17. They've been told to move on and they still keep coming back, but they don't understand what the risks are. I mean, there is a hell of a lot of danger going on. I mean, I've been attacked by a punter. I've had my money taken off me. They don't seem to realise that could happen to them. I mean, some girls get raped, mugged. I mean, there's been girls down here that's been murdered, being chucked in the canal. There's been a lot of things that's happened, and it's wrong. It really is wrong. I mean, the social don't pay enough, and if you've got kids to bring up, it's all the more harder. So this is the only thing that I feel comfortable in. But you've got to understand there are risks. There's a hell of a lot of risks taken with it as well.
We call the areas that we work in our offices, and Christine's office was Canal Street, Minchell Street, round the corner of there. She was my best friend, really. I didn't know that many people up there. Never ever needed any help or anything, and Christine had helped me. She's really bubbly. She really, she's outrageous. She speaks with her hands. She's always giggling and loud, very loud.
Christine's friend Sharon remembers a conversation they had on Christmas Eve.
I've just had enough now. I'm getting out. Where are you going to go? Going up. Stay with Bev. No, Bev.
I don't know, Bev.
She do. I've known her for years.
Where's she live?
She lives up in Leigh.
I didn't know a Bev. I asked her who it was, and she said it were either in Leigh or Leeds. I couldn't say for sure, but she said she was going to stop with her.
Find it. It's by the market.
Well, it's easy enough then, isn't it?
You sticking out late tonight?
She protected me. She told me what to do, what not to do, and she was always there when I needed her. And she was just really close. She was a good friend.
But a few days after Christmas, Christine was still living in Moss Side. She worked through the night till around 5 or 6 a.m. when she called into the newsagents around the corner from her flat. But these visits stopped after the morning of Friday, December the 28th.
Hi, Abdul, you all right? Yeah, a bit tired, not too bad. All right, I'll have 3 of these. And 1 of those, okay? Huh? Where's Rambo this morning, then?
He's at the back, Chris.
Does he want some of this? Come on, Rambo.
She always came in here. She bought lots of crisps, 7-8 packets of crisps. And she always liked the dog. She always bought Kit Kat and fed the dog almost every day whenever she came in. Dog really liked her. My dog doesn't go to anybody, but he always went to her.
Right, suppose you want paying now, do you? Okay.
She's a nice, cheerful person. Never moan or groan about anything. She was great.
Okay, take it easy.
See you later, love. Bye. I never saw Chris after that.
Several people think they may have seen Christine during the first days of the new year. But the last positive sighting was by her close friend Debbie at 10:15 p.m. on New Year's Day.
Nice, eh?
Where'd you get that from?
Punter gave this to me. Aye. Gonna score tonight with this one. Woo!
It's a bad night tonight, isn't it?
God, I know, it's freezing. Do you want a fag?
She came up to me, she was trying to light a cigarette. And she had like a clipper lighter with a roller and she couldn't flick it. Her fingers were really blue with the cold, and I kept saying to her, "Where's them gloves that I gave you the other day?" "Oh, I've left them at home," or "I don't know what I've done with them," making all sorts of excuses about these gloves that she didn't have on.
I don't know what I've done with them. You know me, in the gutter, in the car, I don't know.
And as we were talking, a punter pulled up. I got in the car, and then she walked off down Canal Street, and I was saying to her, "I'll see you later." I can't believe that was the last time I saw her.
"15 miles away in Leigh, Pennington Flash is popular with fishermen. On Sunday, January the 6th, John Faulkner and his son found Christine's dismembered body in plastic bags stuffed into a mattress cover. It was lying in a shallow part of the lake near the car park on Slag Lane. Christine had been strangled, but her body had been in the water for no more than 24 hours. And the night before her body was discovered, several people were suspicious of what was happening in the car park. At about 7:40, a couple driving up Slag Lane saw a white van reversing into the car park. There were two men inside, one of whom, the driver, seemed to be wearing a peaked cap. Three other people also saw a white van on their way to dump some rubbish on Slag Lane Tip.
I looked over to the car park and I saw a white vehicle, which to me looked like a white dog angling van.
Twice, as cars drove past, the van turned off its lights and reversed back into the car park.
The white van just looked too suspicious to me, like what it was doing.
When they were closer to the tip, they saw the van drive out at speed without its lights on. Then, at midnight, a couple driving up Slag Lane saw a Datsun Cherry in the car park.
I mentioned to my wife that it must be a courting couple or something like that. But then we thought, well, that was strange because he'd had his headlights on.
Somebody's got to know something. I mean, she was so recognisable, she was full of life, she was always laughing and smiling. She's just not there no more. She was a really nice person. Please help.
John Smith, obviously, to get that help, you need to eliminate the Datsun Cherry. What about the white van? How convinced are you that was something to do with the murder?
I'm not 100% convinced. It may well be a courting couple there who didn't want to be seen, or someone dumping rubbish. But whatever the reason, I'd like them to contact the incident room in order that they can eliminate them from this inquiry.
Why was she killed? What was the motive?
I honestly don't know. It may well be an argument she's had with an acquaintance, or it may be drug-related, or tragically it may be a client relationship which has gone terribly wrong.
You said it might be drug-related. She had quite a bad drug habit, in fact, didn't she?
Yeah, she had a £100 a day drug habit.
So it could be related to that. You say, what was she wearing on the day she died?
Well, she had a 3/4 length anorak on, which was dark blue or black, with a drawstring fastening at the bottom. But quite noticeably, she had a beige and pink round neck sweater, which had a floral design on the front, which was surrounded by pearls and sequins. It's quite distinctive, and I would like, if anyone has seen that pullover since about the 1st of January this year, or knows its present location, to contact the incident room.
Now, you say since the 1st of January last year. The sequence of events is she disappeared from her flat on the 29th of December. She was definitely seen on the 1st of January, possibly on the 2nd, and even possibly, I think, on early in the morning of the 3rd of January.
That is correct. At Watson Shebeen in Broadfield Road, Moss Side in Manchester, a brown-coloured Cortina Datsun was seen at 4 a.m, containing a woman and an elderly West Indian driver. Obviously, anyone who saw her over that period of time, from the 1st to the 3rd, please contact the incident room, and I would like to hear, obviously, from the driver of that brown vehicle or the other passenger.
Now, perhaps the best clue comes from where she was found, from the mattress cover in which she was found.
That is correct. The mattress cover, when examined, was found to bear a laundry mark, which is about 1 inch in length. It bears a serial number 08230, which is quite unique in the United Kingdom. If anyone at all who has worked in a laundry or currently works in a laundry which uses an old figure laundry mark number, please contact the incident room at Leigh Police Station.
Or you can call us here, of course. It is a small clue, that last one, but of course murder cases have been solved before with far less to go on. If you recognise that marking, do please call us. Here's the number, and remember that guarantee of absolute discretion. If, for example, you've been involved with drugs or something like that, the police have promised no publicity and only gratitude for anyone who calls to help. 081 811 8181. Or you can call the Leigh Incident Room, as John Smith said. That's on 0942 44981. That's 0942, the code for Leigh, 44981.
This is an indiscriminate, futile murder. It's the kind of crime that happens luckily very rarely, but that's no consolation for the victim's family and friends. Shirley Leach was a pensioner. She lived in Greater Manchester, and our reconstruction begins in the small hours of Friday the 7th of January in Bury Town Centre.
Yeah, it's a good night down there on a Thursday.
That's not bad. Have your mates gone home?
Yeah, they got a cab earlier.
I'm stuffed.
Here, have you got any fags left?
Yeah, just the one. We'll share it. I'll have to go to the loo first, though. Is there a bog round here?
Yeah, there's one in the bus station.
Come with us. It's a bit dark.
The couple walked to the toilets at the Bury Interchange, the town's central bus depot.
Hello? Yeah. Where is it? Yeah, OK, I'll be right over. OK, John, what have we got?
Looks like a bad one. There's a female in the toilet. She's aged between...
Well, our first priority was to preserve the scene of the crime. We needed to protect the forensic material which was inside there, so we had to make sure it was as secure as possible. I always try to keep a distance emotionally from these sort of things. But I must admit that the first thing I thought when I saw the body lying there was that we've got a poor old lady who's probably never done anybody any harm in her life. She goes into the toilet and her life ends there. We didn't actually identify the body for about 14 hours. It was then that we discovered she was an old-age pensioner from Bury. Her name was Shirley Leach.
Shirley had lived most of her life in Bury and had 2 grown-up children. She'd been widowed nearly 2 years ago when her husband died of cancer.
Hello, Shirley. Parcel for you.
She was a very good neighbour, great neighbour. I often used to say to her, I hope you never removed from here, because I'd miss you.
The garden's nice and tidy. Is it?
Oh.
Yes. Oh, I thought it was
She was just a lovely, kind person who would help anyone, you know, if she could.
Do you know it's cold out there, and I'm going uptown later.
Are you?
Yes. Going to meet our Darren.
Darren was her only grandchild. The 2 of them had always been close.
Darren, it's my favourite. Listen, who's it back again? It's that Culture Club.
Oh no, Gran, it's Culture Beat.
Culture Beat, that's it. Hey, I'm going to get it.
She wasn't typical Gran. She was young for her age. She loved music. She knew more about music than me. She was well up to date with it all. And she loved buying records. She was more like a mother to me. We used to have a laugh together and spend plenty of time together. We could go out and have a good laugh, have a joke. Last time I saw her on 6th of January, when we went to visit my mother in hospital, and we decided to go to the pub.
Shirley's journey home meant taking 2 bus rides, and she and Darren decided to warm up with a drink before setting off.
Thanks, love.
Yeah?
Well, that's all right. Put it in your pocket.
Cheers, Gran. Yeah, she used to look after me. If I was short of money, she used to help me out a bit.
Oh, before I forget, here you are. Got something for you.
With my mum being in hospital, she bought me a few things.
It's only milk and lemons. Hey, we'd better drink up if we're going to catch our bus.
It's getting off the line already, isn't it?
It is.
I could talk to her about anything, any problems that we used to discuss together. We got the 9 o'clock bus together. I got off at my usual stop, That was the last time I saw him go.
Shirley's bus carried on towards the interchange. Around the same time, a local man, Gary O'Neill, was arriving at the interchange.
I was just on my way home from work and I was just walking through the bus station towards the gents' toilets, and I saw a man standing outside. It was quite unusual for anyone to be stood there at that time of night. He was late 40s, early 50s. He was wearing either a grey or beige raincoat and a cap, and he had a green bag on his shoulder. As I left, he just faced the bus station.
It was about 9:10 when Shirley got to the interchange. The connecting bus she'd intended to catch home had just gone. Two of the hospital cleaners recognised her at the bus stop.
Have we missed bus? Yeah. We're always missing it. 4 times out of 5. What time's next to? It'll have to be the 25 to 10 now, won't it? That's another half hour. Hey, let's go and have a look at the 90 timetable, see what time it goes.
Shirley was obviously annoyed at missing the bus, and a few minutes later I saw her crossing the interchange. I wondered where she was going, and then I assumed she was going to the toilet, and that's the last time we saw Shirley.
About 15 minutes later, some teenagers were chatting nearby. The scream came from the direction of the toilets.
What was that? Probably someone messing about or something.
Oh, look, it's gone.
At around the same time, these two sisters were on their way home after a game of bingo.
We'd have caught that.
I told you we shouldn't have played that last game. How am I going to get home now?
Me and Joan were talking. She was worried she'd missed the bus. And I happened to glance to the ladies' toilets.
I'm going to get home now, all that
look,
played the last
Joan, what's
game.
that man doing going in, ladies? Oh, look, what's he doing now?
He had his back to me the whole time. He were around 5'6" to 5'9". He went out of my view then.
Police believe it was around this time that Shirley Leach was murdered. No one seems to have seen the man leave the interchange.
We're obviously looking for somebody who is mentally disturbed. He needs to be caught very quickly. He needs medical help. The particular worry we have is that this was a horrendous crime to commit. She was butchered, she was sexually assaulted, and I just thought, what's the world coming to?
Well, Mr. Maskew, that was such a tragic case. Shirley used to make that journey every night for 2 weeks to visit her daughter in hospital, and that was the first time she'd ever missed her connecting bus.
That's right. It was the first time she'd ever missed a bus. But even if it had happened on other occasions, quite often she'd been accompanied by other members of the family when she'd made that journey. So if that had happened on other nights, it would not have made any difference.
It was the first time she was on her own as well.
Indeed, yes.
What sort of person do you think could have done this?
Clearly a very dangerous individual. If anything, Shirley was a little bit more timid than the actress portrays it in the reconstruction, and certainly she was smaller in build. She was clearly a vulnerable victim who I think was selected for that particular purpose.
3 people altogether have described the man we saw there in the film loitering at the Bury interchange. Do you think all those 3 people actually are describing the same man?
Certainly the descriptions are very similar, the one exception being about the top coat that he's seen when he's first seen outside the gents' toilets. That anorak with the drawstring is not visible on the other 2 sightings, but nevertheless the remaining description is so similar that I think it could well be the same man, although obviously I can't exclude the possibility there may be more than one.
The last sighting, in terms of time, was at about 10:10 that Thursday night, wasn't it?
That's right, that's at 10:10, and it's a young girl who's waiting at a bus queue when she sees the man walking across the interchange, and he is in fact leaving the interchange at that point onto Anglin Way. He's holding to his face a white tissue or a white handkerchief, which is blood-stained, and he could well have been bleeding from the face.
What precisely is the description you have now of this man?
It's a compilation from the 3 witnesses, and he's aged between 40 and 50 years of age, 5'7" to 5 feet 8 inches tall, and certainly on the night of the murder he was wearing a sports coat or suit-type jacket, a flat cap, or as a hairstyle which creates that impression.
Any indication at all for you where he might have come from?
Now that's a difficult one. It's a busy bus station where the incident occurred, and it's also the Metrolink for the tram services in Manchester. He could in fact have come from anywhere in the country.
How are you hoping that viewers tonight might be able to help?
Hoping by someone may recognise the man from the description and the reconstruction. It may be someone they know, particularly females. It may be someone that they feel uncomfortable in his presence. He meets the criteria in terms of age and height, and it may be some other thing that means that they're connecting with this incident. If that's the case, I would ask that they please contact.
And of course anybody else who may have seen the man answering that description on that night.
Anyone else with any information whatsoever. It's such a dreadful crime as this that I really do appeal to people, if they've got any information, to make contact with me.
Mr Musgrave, thank you very much. And just to remind you, we're talking about the evening of Thursday the 6th of January at the Bury Interchange bus terminal. If you can help, please call us here in the studio. This is the number here, 0500 600 600, or you can ring the incident room direct, and that number is 061 856 8383. That's 061 for Manchester, 856 8383.
Oh, go on, go on.
If you were there that night, perhaps you talked to her or saw who she was with.
Anybody in town?
86 Bob, I'm in town.
Get me Piccadilly 21 for Natalie.
Roger.
Is this taxi for Natalie?
Yeah, Natalie, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Just get me mates.
Well, she's with 3 white lads, basically. Student-y type. One was very tall, that I distinctively remember.
Wythenshawe, please.
The 2 lads in the back I didn't get a really good look at. I could just describe them as 2 white males, about 5'10".
Oh, I was just thinking, I hope my dog hasn't done anything when I get home. She's only a puppy, she's called Sasha, she's gorgeous.
Natalie was keeping the conversation alive by doing all the talking and gibbering on about a dog.
What kind of a night have you had? Has had a good night?
Passed 1 or 2 questions, but they didn't want to know, they didn't want to tell me anything.
What club did you go to? Did you go to that 21 club?
Could you pull up at the next petrol station so we can get some cigs and some crisps and that, please?
Okay, yeah, it's just through the lights.
Cheers. Just here, lovely, thanks.
Okay, that's £7.80, please.
Okay. It's good in it, 3 lads, and I've still got to pay.
Smashing.
Oops.
Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot. See ya.
See you again, Mel.
Were these old friends of hers, or had she just met them that night? Either way, police need to hear from them.
Sasha, come on. Come on.
There are no confirmed sightings of Natalie after that night. If she was still alive on the Saturday, she would certainly have spent some of the time at her flat. That Saturday evening, the neighbour downstairs heard a lot of noise coming from Natalie's flat.
The banging was getting on my nerves, so I slammed the door to the sitting room, hoping it'd make him stop, but it carried on.
An hour and a half later, it was 4 days after that that Natalie's body was found. She'd been stabbed several times. Well, Mr. Baldwin, do you have any theories why anybody would have wanted to kill Natalie?
Well, it was 8 weeks ago tonight since Natalie's body was found by her mum. Since then, we've made a number of enquiries, but we're unable to tell at this stage why Natalie should have been attacked and killed.
Nothing was missing from her flat?
No, she'd only been in the flat for about a month. And we obviously need to speak to anyone who's visited her there, or who knows of anybody else who's visited her in that time.
Yeah, what sort of period are we talking about? People who need to come forward and talk to you?
We've had a good response from people who saw Natalie during the week prior to Easter, but we need to speak to anyone who saw her between Thursday the 13th of April, which was the day before Good Friday, and Thursday the 20th, when her body was found.
Now, the man in the red jacket that somebody saw her with at the bus station was before that time, wasn't it?
That was the day before Good Friday. That was a sighting by someone who knows Natalie well, and we're quite satisfied that that was the time and date. We do know he's about 28, about 5'11". He had collar-length blonde hair, which was greasy.
So we still need to eliminate him. But you do have one witness who saw somebody else with Natalie a couple of days later at the same bus station at about the same time of the morning.
We're not altogether certain about the date, but it was the same bus station and about the same time of day. This was a younger man. He was in his late teens or early 20s. He had black hair, which was shaved at the sides and the back. He was also about 5'11", but his hair was blonde on top, blonde streaks. He had a scar on his face which went from his nose down to his top lip and across his left cheek. On the back of his right hand he had a very distinctive tattoo which looked like a bird in flight, and 2 lines of dots on his knuckles. We think he may have used the name Paul. And as Natalie and this individual walked away from the bus station towards Portland Street, he was speaking to her in a very aggressive way and was either pushing her or punching her in the back as they walked.
But the last actual definite sighting of Natalie was by that taxi driver after she left the Piccadilly 21 Club with those 3 lads.
As things stand at the moment, these 3 lads are some of the last people to have seen Natalie alive. We really need these people to come forward. The descriptions we've got of them are not too good. Student types. One of them was particularly tall. It may be that they recall the taxi journey back to Wythenshawe, calling at the garage for cigarettes and crisps. Perhaps they remember seeing Natalie's dog with a bandaged leg when they got back. But we do need them to come forward so that we can eliminate them from our inquiries.
Right, and that was the 13th of April, late Thursday night, the small hours of Good Friday. That was the 14th of April. And there's an unusually large reward in this put up by the police and Natalie's family. If you knew Natalie, if you met her or you saw her in the few days leading up to the Easter weekend, please ring and help Mr. Boardman try to build up an accurate picture of Natalie's life at the time she died. The number here, 0500 600 600, or you can ring the incident room on their direct line, 0161 856 4300. That's 0161, the code for Manchester, 856 4300.
The killing of Louise Sellars. Now, Louise was 15. She lived in Apley Bridge near Wigan with her parents and younger brother and sister.
Louise was an absolutely fun-loving girl. She loved to go out with her mates. She loved to have a dance on a Friday night. She was doing really well at school. She had her life planned out to be a PE teacher. She was going to college, and she had everything set. Everything set.
Oh, she was bubbly, vivacious, I would say. It describes her to a T, really. She was everybody's friend, and you could not fail to like Louise. You know, she was, I'm not saying she was an angel, she was just like every other teenager, but she just had that bit more.
What are you looking for? Sure, but what about those there? I'm trying.
Listen, I'm not feeling too well. I think I'm going to go up.
Right.
You do washing up for me, Louise?
All right.
You're going to go out tonight?
I'm going to find some friends, might meet up.
Well, don't be too long on that phone, will you?
Hello? Hiya. Oh, Louise. Do you want to meet up?
This evening?
Yeah, tell you what, we'll meet at the lake shop and we can walk down. Yeah, okay. What time?
Well, what's best for you?
6:30. All right. I've got loads of gossip to tell you. No, not now. You'll have to wait. Dad, is Mum still asleep?
Probably, why?
Just want some money.
Well, I think she is still sleeping, so don't you go waking up. Louise, come back!
Mum?
Mm.
Can I have some money?
How much?
Just £1 for a couple of cans of Coke.
Where are you going?
Just to meet some friends.
Okay, I'll see you later.
Yeah. See ya.
Right, bye.
See ya! Hiya.
Oh, yeah? All right, what's the gossip then?
Well, I went to the Park nightclub on Friday.
Oh, yeah?
There's a fight master standing in the queue.
What, next to you?
Yeah, these guys were trying to get in the club, but the bouncers wouldn't let them in.
But you got in though, didn't you?
Yeah. I ended up falling out with Jane, though.
Why?
She just really got on my nerves.
Leigh, have you moved the sugar?
Because I trapped off with this guy called Andrew, and he gave me his ring. I'm going to give it him back tonight, though. I was supposed to give it him back before we left the club, but I just forgot.
Yeah. Hiya. Hiya.
Where'd it go?
Yeah. Where have you been?
What?
Where are you going?
Just going downstairs.
It's just as it's quiet out now, it's just answering the girlfriend, that's what we're doing.
Come on, get in, we're only going to Ansel.
No, not tonight, I'm too tired.
Well, where are you off to?
I think I'll go home.
See ya.
It's about 9:15 p.m. and Kelly presumed Louise was going home. But 10 minutes later...
Hiya. Michelle, you're never going to believe what's just happened.
What?
I was standing at the bus stop at Randall's Corner, and this bloke pulls up in his car and asked me if I want a lift. So I said no. He told me to get lost and caused me a slag.
Are you kidding?
No.
It's now around 9:30.
I was travelling along Miles Lane when I noticed Louise on the right-hand side of the road. She was walking in between Chisacre Drive and Abbeydale, heading towards Randall's Corner.
Five minutes later, a local resident saw what appeared to be Louise standing by the bus stop, talking to two men in a white Ford Escort. Moments later, just up the road, was this the same white car, and was Louise inside?
People like that, don't they annoy?
Yeah.
Did you tell Louise she had to be in?
Sundays, you're normally back by 10:30, and now it's
Nearly 11.
Louise was very good at coming home, but if she's going to be any later, she would always ring us to let us know where she was and what time she was going to be in. So obviously when she didn't ring or let us know by 11 o'clock where she was, that's when we really did start to worry.
Oh, hi. It's Elaine Sellars here. You haven't seen Louise, have you, tonight? No, and she hasn't come back yet. It's, Elaine Sellars here, Louise's mum. I'm sorry to bother you at this time of night. I know it's a bit late. Elaine Sellars here. Yes, has your daughter seen Louise tonight at all? I just wondered if you'd seen her at all tonight. Oh, I am. I mean, do you think, who else can I ring? Hello, is that Mrs. Morrissey? Hello, it's Elaine Sellars here, Louise's mum. Is Kelly in by any chance? Yeah, could I have a word with her? Could you ask her if she's seen Louise tonight?
Kelly. Louise's mum's on the phone. She wants to know what time you left Louise. She's not come in yet.
9:20. Why? What time is it now?
It's nearly midnight.
Has she gone missing before?
Never. She'd never leave us worrying like this.
Where's your husband at the moment?
Louise!
Could you circulate that description, please? Thank you.
Don't worry, there's lots of officers looking for her.
There's definitely something wrong.
Louise!
Early the next morning, Louise's body was discovered near Billinge, 5 miles from her home. She'd been strangled. The tragic fate of Louise Sellars. Well, Peter Mockett is in charge of the inquiry. Peter, in addition to the 2 white cars we saw in the film, I think you have new information on a 3rd white car, which may or may not be the same one. Is that
Maybe
right?
the same one. Yes, we have a sighting of a white Ford Escort with a fin on the back, which was seen in Miles Lane around about 9:30. The driver is described as 21 years of age with facial stubble, and he's wearing some distinctive clothing.
Yes, I think he was wearing a baseball cap rather like this, wasn't he? Blue and red.
A blue cap with a red with a red
peak.
rather,
And also a T-shirt with a distinctive marking on it as well.
Yes, it's got No Fear on it, the black T-shirt with No Fear written on it.
And you presumably desperately want to trace Louise's movements after 9:30?
Very much so. We've got plenty of sightings up until 9:30. It's drastically important that we find where she went after 9:30.
Now, the scene where her body was found in Billinge is a popular place, isn't it, for walkers, courting couples?
It is. We'd appeal to anyone who was in the vicinity on the evening of the 13th or into the early hours of the 14th, who was about, who saw anything remotely suspicious, vehicles or people.
Some items found in the area. Tell us about these.
Yes, this is a cassette tape which was found quite near to where Louise was found. As you can see, it's got a handwritten label on either side. Goon May 93 is on one side and Vertigo on the other. It wasn't Louise's.
And another cassette case, I think.
Yes, that was found in the location. Tenerife Holiday, it's called. We know that it was produced in Tenerife this year. We're desperately keen to find the owners of those two cassette tapes.
Now, the person who committed this dreadful crime must have acted strange afterwards.
You can only imagine so. It's a terrible, grave crime, the loss of a young girl's wife. If anyone knows anything, if the person's confided in a family member or a partner, please come forward, please tell us. It's desperately important.
Absolutely, Peter. Thank you very much indeed. And I just must add that there is a substantial reward offered in this case as well. So if you feel that you can help police in any way, you can call them direct on 0161 856 7085. That's Manchester 0161 856 7085.
In Lancashire, and the murder of a university student, Janet Murgatroyd. It's almost 3 months. Saturday, the 15th of June. That was a memorable day, though. The big bomb in Manchester went off that morning, and England played Scotland in the European Championship that afternoon. But for Janet, it was a day for celebration. She just finished her exams, and it was one of the warmest weekends of the year.
Sorry, I can't hear you. There's a body. There's a body over here. Can you help us out?
Right. There was a body, that of a young woman. It had been in the water only about half an hour. Janet was 20, a local girl who went to the local university. She was studying law and had just completed her first year. She'd planned to go into Manchester that day to shop for clothes, but changed her mind. Then, hearing of the Arndale Centre bomb, she was thankful that she'd cancelled. That afternoon, Janet met up with a friend from university.
Oh, I didn't tell you I bought a Greek phrase book. I'll lend it you if you like. Yeah.
During the holidays, the two planned to go backpacking through
really
Europe.
Difficult, because it says you've got to learn the alphabet first. Oh, stuff that. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'd never travelled around Europe before and Janet hadn't, so it was going to be a new experience for both of us that we were going to share together. We couldn't have been happier. We were both on top of the world that day. We really were. We thought nothing was going to stop us from here on in. That was it. We were free to do whatever we wanted for those 10 weeks, and we were going to make sure we were going to do them as well.
So what, spend a month there? What, in Greece? No, I think we should leave a bit earlier, spend more time in Italy. I think I'm going to like the Italians.
But aren't they supposed to pinch your bum all the time?
Maybe we better get an Italian phrase book at all.
We were very happy. We'd been in the pub quite a lot of the afternoon, and it was going to be our last night out before we went on our holidays. We were making it a good night.
It's really crowded out here. What about there? See, hang on a minute. Excuse me, these seats taken.
Oh, you're right.
It was towards the end of the night and we had had a lot to drink by that stage. So we decided to stay in the Adelphi for last orders. Somehow we got separated and we ended up parting company and going our own way home. And that was the last time I ever saw Janet. And I remember thinking to myself that I should wait for her and make sure that she got in a taxi safely, or to make sure that she came back to my flat with me. But it just didn't happen, and the worst of it is I can't even remember the last thing that I said to her, or the last thing that she said to me.
Janet really had had quite a lot to drink, and maybe found it hard to get a taxi. At any rate, shortly before 1 a.m, she was heading towards Penwortham Bridge. Security cameras tracked her as she weaved her way down Fishergate.
I remember that night because I was late picking my mother up from her sister's.
Look at that girl, walking by herself at this hour. Shall we give her a lift?
She'll be all right.
Come on, John, let's stop.
Mother wanted me to stop, give the girl a lift. She looks drunk. So I just said to my mother, there's no way I'm going to give her a lift. She could be sick in the car. And we just carried on our way home.
Did you see Janet waiting at the start of Penwortham Bridge? And did you see anyone else in the vicinity?
He was shouting at somebody. Could have been anybody on the path, anything. You get it a lot down here. People coming from town, clubs and everything. So I never thought nothing more about it. Just went back to bed.
A cab driver saw two significant events around this time.
I remember as I approached the bridge, I saw a couple in front of the Volvo garage. They were arguing. She was taller than he was. And as I turned onto the bridge, I saw a man running across the front of me. And then I saw a girl in front of him. It looked like he was chasing her. Perhaps I should have stopped.
About 15 minutes later, 1:30 or so, these two brothers were coming across Penwortham Bridge.
We'd been out into Preston at Tokyo Joe's nightclub, and because it was a nice warm night, we decided to walk home. When we reached the far side of the bridge, I heard a noise, that of a girl. It was a moaning, groaning sound. I've worked in a dental surgery, and it reminded me of the noise somebody makes when they're coming out of anaesthetic, like they're incapable of talking. It is a funny area, and we have seen stranger things before, and nothing has come of that, so we just carried on where we didn't think twice about it.
Janet probably lay unconscious on the riverbank until the tide rose on Sunday morning, picked her up and carried her upstream. She had massive head injuries, but died finally of drowning. Her clothes were found beside Penwortham Bridge.
I can only hope that Janet didn't suffer. I can only feel hatred towards the person that's killed her. Absolute, total hatred. And also disgust at whomever is shielding him. And I hope that they don't sleep at nights, really. Because I find it difficult to sleep at nights. I wake up sometimes at 2 and 3 in the morning thinking, well, I'll just check that Janet's home. And then I burst into tears because I know she's never going to come home. And that's foul. And someone knows. Someone is shielding Janet's killer. I'm absolutely certain of that. So I just hope that this helps, really.
3 months after the murder, this morning, at the parish church near her home in Penwortham, Janet was finally buried.
Sorry, 1303.
Graham Gooch, you think her attacker was likely a local man? How would local people recognise him? How would they know him?
Well, this is a man who has committed a very serious offence. It will play on his mind. His behaviour may have probably changed just after the event, and he will still be thinking about it. He'll still want to tell somebody about it, and may have told somebody about it.
Given the extraordinary level of violence, it seems most unlikely he wouldn't have done something approaching this before. I mean, is this going to be a man with a criminal record, with a violent past?
Well, certainly, I'm convinced that he has attacked women before. He may not have had a criminal record because the women may not have reported, but this is a man who's used violence on women before, and I believe if he's not caught, he will do it again.
You think that?
Yes.
Piecing together the physical descriptions you've got of him, how do you describe him?
Well, the man we're looking for is about 5'10" to 6 foot tall. He's a white or pale-skinned Asian man. We know he's got black hair. He was wearing a long-sleeved white shirt and very dark, probably black trousers.
Now, there are several people you need to eliminate. First of all, the two people arguing at the Volvo garage, but others who were seen on security cameras in the area. Firstly, two men who were walking down Fishergate Hill just before Janet. Describe the importance of them, will you?
Well, we're particularly anxious to speak to the man we can see on the right in the white shirt with the dark trousers and the dark hair. We really need to find out who he is to eliminate him from the inquiry because he was going just ahead of Janet.
It says the 16th of June. Actually, it's late on the night of Saturday the 15th, early in the morning of Sunday the 16th of June, about 1 a.m. Then there was a man walking up Strand Road. Roughly, those two roads meet, of course, just before Penwortham Bridge.
Yes, this man was walking towards the scene of the murder at about the right time, so he will have arrived on the bridge about the same time as Janet. We can see him walking towards the bridge and later a better picture of him coming back. Now, he was there at the right time. We really do need to speak to him.
There's not much going on around that area at the time, so who was he? If you can help in any way, do please call 0500 600 600. 0500 600 600, even if you've just suspicions. You can try the instant room at Preston, that's on 01772 410 828. That's Preston in Lancashire, 410 828.
It's not as bad as people tend to think, but there are exceptions, and this is one. A killer whose behaviour is erratic and unpredictable. The victim was a 21-year-old clerk from Davyhulme in Manchester. You may remember her from the news around Easter when it happened. Her name was Lucy Royle.
It was the evening of Good Friday 5 weeks ago, April the 18th, and Lucy was recovering from a migraine.
Pass the salt.
I believe number 25 is up for sale.
That's it? How do you know that?
One of the neighbours told me.
I didn't know they wanted to leave. No, really. Glad you touched your food, Lucy.
Oh, sorry, Mum. I don't really feel like eating. I'm going to go in the sitting room.
All right, see you in a moment. I've got a sign up.
No, not yet.
Hello. Oh, it's you. I haven't spoken to you for a while.
That was all the conversation the family overheard. We don't know who the call was from, but we know where it was from. A phone box a few hundred yards away. 9:30 on Good Friday evening. Who rang Lucy from here?
I'm just going out. Will you do us a favour? If I'm not back by 11:25, will you tape Islander for me?
That was Lucy. Avid film watcher. She'd just... anything. She didn't go out an awful lot. She'd much rather spend an evening in watching a film, a big bag of munchies.
We don't know Lucy's route or if she met anybody on the way, though a local resident thinks she saw Lucy at the phone box. Whoever the girl was, she was talking to a man. It's important to eliminate this couple. Could it have been you? Lucy's route from her home in Jura Drive probably did go past the phone box, then up Barton Road, under the M60, and past the Tulip Inn. A security camera at the hotel shows someone who looks like Lucy at about the time it would have taken her to walk that far. Soon afterwards, Lucy sent a text message to her sister. She used her mobile phone a lot, and often used time when she was walking or waiting to sort out chores.
Hi, Lucy. It's Amy.
I've actually got 2 numbers for her. Which one do you want me to use?
Oh, God, I'm not sure. The number's in my phone memory. I can't check which one it is without hanging up. Can you give us a call back in a few minutes and I'll tell you?
Amy did say she could hear trees going blowing in the wind. cars and motorway. She just sounded normal, Lucy. The background noise was trees and the motorway.
Hi, Amy? Yeah. It's a 5256 number. OK. Great. See you later. Bye.
It seems likely Lucy made that call from near Barton Embankment, close to where she died. That leads to another clue detectives are anxious to eliminate. A woman leaving the fitness club nearby noticed a green Toyota Yaris and someone sitting in the car. Barton Embankment is known as Lover's Lane. If this was your car on Good Friday evening, call in confidence to have yourself removed from the inquiry.
The morning of the Saturday, and we're wondering where Lucy is. Because we hadn't heard from Lucy, we just kept trying to get hold of her by the phone, because she always had her phone on. As the morning went on, we kept trying.
Same thing.
No answer.
Well, she never has it switched off.
I know.
We tried phoning again, and her phone just wasn't on.
Same thing. Maybe she's gone somewhere. She wouldn't go anywhere without her phone.
Maybe we should ring one of her friends.
It's broken. Maybe that's it.
And we just kept trying, phoning friends, see if she was there. No one had heard anything. So we gradually, through the morning, 11:30, 12 o'clock, we were getting to worry. It was forever. It was such a long time.
Lucy had been killed where she was found, fully clothed, but with her head smashed in and 18 stab wounds to her body.
A young girl and her life sort of taken away, just snapped away like that. They shouldn't be allowed. They shouldn't. Why should they do stuff like that? Really, I can't do anything else for Lucy. I can only ask if there is anyone out there that knows anything. They might have some information. The effect it's had on this family is total devastation. Can't understand why. Just can't.
Well, this is Detective Superintendent Peter Minshall of Greater Manchester Police. Now, Peter, we're not going to go into the details, but the way she was killed was particularly violent, wasn't it?
That's right. This really is one of the most horrific murders which I've ever investigated, a really awful crime. Lucy was only 21 and really her family are absolutely devastated.
Now, if anyone has suspicions about who did this, or maybe protecting someone, perhaps from a kind of slightly misplaced sense of loyalty, what would you say to them?
Well, look, we understand about loyalty up to a point, and we can accept that people may cover up for somebody up to a point, and it's the information that's important to us. So if somebody wants to come forward tonight or the next couple of days, we can accept that. It's the information that we do want. But if it's the case that somebody carries on and continues to cover up for somebody else, then they themselves will face quite serious charges.
So let's be clear, if someone comes forward now or in the next few days and has suspicions about someone but hasn't come forward up to this point, they'll be treated sympathetically by you?
Of course they will, yes. It's their information that's important to us. That's what's really, really important to us.
OK. Now, would the killer have had blood on his or her hands, on clothing, that kind of thing?
That may be the case, and clearly somebody may have seen somebody else in that state, in that condition, or it may be that they're just somebody they know has been acting really, really differently since Good Friday.
And what about a motive for this attack?
We're not exactly clear what the motive may be. What we do know is that Lucy's rucksack and her pink phone are still missing.
Well, let's show them here.
Need to find those.
Because this rucksack is identical to the one she was wearing, and this is still missing. Let me just show you the phone here. It's a little pink phone. It's got Scrumptious Bum written on it and a little picture on the back here. So these you still want to find. Now, we showed some people there in the reconstruction that you want to talk to. In particular, there's that couple who were by the phone box, and there was a red car by the phone box.
Yeah, this sighting is really, really important to us. We do need to know that if that was Lucy, then we need to know who the man was speaking to her. And equally, just as importantly, if it wasn't Lucy, then we need to know who those two people were. And also, was the car connected to the people at the phone box?
OK, well, this is far too dangerous to hold anything back. Call us here or call the incident room on 0161 856 4343 or call the local police in Davyhulme. You can also contact us by email through our website www.bbc.co.uk/crime.